What I was interested in is women actually sitting with themselves, and I just thought there's so much kind of internal dialogue around this for everyone, and I'm not sure if everybody else has it, and I just kind of wanted to know what other people thought, and think about the act of taking that selfie and all the things that go through your head, and the act of putting it out there and all the different kind of feelings that go with that. And I just wanted it to be like a real kind of, that's what it's called, see my selfie, because it's actually about seeing yourself and listening to yourself and questioning why you think the things that you think about yourself and about what other people think of you.
I've been trying to get a little bit more confident with just being me around a lot of people, and I thought having to take photos when you might not necessarily be happy with the way you look, but sharing how you feel about that, I thought it'd be quite an interesting project to take part in and push me to sort of share images of myself that I wouldn't normally do. I feel like I normally self-edit quite a lot.
Usually when I take selfies, I like to edit, I like to put a lot of makeup on. I only take them when I feel like I've got a good outfit on or something, whereas with this, there was a lot of different challenges.
It was also a thing of, I don't want to seem vain, I don't want to seem like I like myself, because modesty is the best thing ever. And I was very much raised by a mother who valued modesty and kind of underselling yourself, and I think that's massively a thing that women do way more than men.
Somewhere inside of me, I felt it was like vain, and I think that that's a thing that I really don't like to think that I am, or that I don't like seeing in myself, like caring about the way that I look.
I think in the past few years I've reached a point where I'm so busy that I literally have like no sort of regime. Like I don't make an effort with how I look at all, other than like if it's for like a night out every few months or whatever.
I don't really have a negative relationship with myself. I don't have any major insecurities that I'm really, that bug me day to day. I don't really have that. But equally, I don't have a positive relationship with myself either. I just don't think I have a relationship. And I think what I discovered was I don't think I look in the mirror or respond to my body in a way that's not just purely functional. It's just like, right, taking off this makeup and putting on this makeup, brushing my hair, or this part of me aches, or this, I've hurt this part of me. I don't really go any further beyond that.
I always put the phone up and slightly adjust my face so that I'm getting rid of my double chin, and then I'll probably take a couple of pictures first and be like, oh, I don't like that one, I'll delete it and do it again.
Right at the start of it, when I was still feeling quite self-conscious, I'd sort of have if you look back on my phone, there's sort of 20 selfies in a row before I pick one that I'm happy with.
So I always kind of take it from above, and I feel like I always take it from one side because I don't like my face straight on because I have quite a round face.
Usually when I take a selfie, I'm thinking about the lighting, so I'm always like, I've got to go in front of a window or something like that, and I've got to do it from this angle so I show off my one good eyebrow or something like that. But I feel like during the project there was some ones where it was like take one face on, and I was like, oh, that's a bit different to what I usually do. So that was really interesting.
I tend not to take a lot of time taking them, and only taking one or two. I can't. If I had to take more than one shot, then I would probably just never post anything, because I'd just get too picky about it.
I was kind of thinking as I was taking the photos about how I was feeling. I was just being really, really critical of myself and really trying to look at how things were making me feel. And something that was repeated itself a lot was this feeling of looking false or looking fake or not looking like me.
It's funny because for a project that is about image, so much of it was about process, and I feel like process came out in everyone's writings and musings, because there was still a lot to explain in the world around the photo. It wasn't in the photo, it was in the writing itself. And I've always felt more comfortable writing.
It really pushed me, because normally, I'd just smile and I have kind of a default pose and that would be it. doing the See My Selfie project made me, forced me to kind of show people other sides to me, and stuff that normally, even in the privacy of my own home, I might well delete a picture, and this time I was putting it out there on social media.
There was one about show something you're insecure about. So for that one, I took a picture of my cellulite, which was experimental. I've never taken a picture of my ass before.
I sort of had a growth spurt when I was a kid, so I have like stretch marks on my leg, and had a lot of critique about my body hair and stuff growing up. So they're all things that have been difficult for me to put on show as I've grown up. And I think as I've got older, I've become a bit more comfortable. But then putting it on things like social media and talking about it quite openly, I definitely found that quite difficult.
I think when we did the stuff in the Selfie project about kind of like body hair and stuff like that, I think we're, as a society, like there's definitely conversations around like, oh well, why do people remove their body hair? But I think people have kind of gone to the, oh well, it's a choice and I've made that choice, and I don't think we're actually looking into it any deeper. And whether it's like people say, well, I just feel nicer that way, fair enough. But for me, what interests me and troubles me a bit is the idea that something that's actually natural can feel unnatural to women, because that's what we're taught. So like if your legs are really hairy, you feel disgusting and dirty and unclean and unwomanly, but that's actually your natural state.
Yeah, I could just tell there was going to be a no makeup one, and I was like, oh no, because I'm like really self-conscious of like my eye bags and my eyebrows, but it was really good to sort of look into that and see what I felt about myself.
I have anxiety and I have depression, and I think trying to find a way to show that was really difficult, because sometimes it's not necessarily something that you can physically see, it's a lot of things that go on in your head. So I was trying to think of the things I do when I'm feeling particularly anxious, and that was quite hard, because when I am having an anxiety attack, I don't really realise how I am. It just happens so quickly, and all I have is this overwhelming sense of like panic, and like it's just a feeling. So it was really hard to think of a way to display that in a selfie. And again, it was kind of like something I was a bit apprehensive to do, because it's something I've always been quite closed about.
I took a picture and I'm like sort of puffy-eyed and look really tired and sort of weepy, and sort of just said, this is part of me as well. So the conversation that came from that was just loads of people sort of being like, me too, I feel like this all the time, and it's not a thing that you see. And I think it was a way to represent yourself in a more multifaceted kind of way. Like the project, I think, made you sort of a more rounded version of you.
I think the ones that challenged me the most were the ones that were like, take a photo from your best angle, or what is your best feature. And I think that was just because I just didn't know. I didn't have prior experience of kind of testing out angles and finding which one was the best for me.
A few of the prompts were quite hard for me. There was one, I think it was taking a photo when you were eating, and I'm really, really self-conscious about being seen eating in any kind of public forum, mainly because I'm larger size, so there's that stigma of, unless I'm eating a lettuce leaf, I shouldn't be seen eating. And I actually have an eating disorder as well, so there's like lots of, my relationship with food is really complex. So that one for me was hard to kind of, show my vulnerability to everybody.
I'm still kind of in recovery from an eating disorder, and there are points in the past where I've been caught on film eating, and it never, and it's funny because I don't think anyone looks good eating, it's not something that anyone is going to come well, because you are just caught in a process. But there was something about having the evidence of me eating, that definitely happened, that's how I look. It was something knew I was going to struggle with. And I ended up completely copping out and just like a close-up of my mouth with some pineapple in it, because that was as far as I could go. And looking back on it, I think I do regret not just going for it, because I know for a fact I will not be the only person taking part in See My Selfie who has an issue around eating or food. But that day, I couldn't break through it.
I think it really amplified how you're feeling emotionally and mentally affects how you feel in your own body and about your own image, which I kind of had thought about before, but I don't think I'd realised it was so specifically correlated. So like there'd be some days when I had like just a really crap, long, stressful day, and like the provocation had come through, and just be like, I just do not feel like taking that picture today. And like it felt really exposing to try and, or like fake to try and put something out there.
When I would look at the hashtags and just see all these different women's faces looking out at me, it was really nice. It felt less about, oh, look at me, and more, I'm looking out into the world and looking for that recognition, and it's just lots of people making eye contact.
It's one thing having a lot of your friends sort of give you positive messages when you're sharing something that's made you feel quite rotten. But then when people who you don't know, who you've sort of built as part of this community, also then sort of say to you that actually thanks for telling us this story and hope that you're feeling better about it. It was quite special, actually.
I feel like it's quite hard to meet people. Like, I know the idea of social media is to bring people together, but it's easy to like make friends from a distance and never actually really make friends. And this was quite good because you saw people you would actually speak to, you have a reason to speak to them in the street rather than just commenting on things. So that was quite nice.
I met some really nice people through it. Like there was a lot of sort of backing people up and a lot of validation within the community. So you could go on the little See My Selfie tag on Instagram and people would be doing the same thing as you every day. And it'd be really nice to see the difference between like your photo and their photo and the way that they've interpreted the question.
There was like a little support network around me as well that all were having the same challenges. It wasn't just me.
It was really refreshing and invigorating to just say this is actually where I am at, and some bits are great and some bits are not. And I was really overwhelmed and touched by other people giving me messages of support and feeling absolutely that I wanted to do that for other people.
It's just because like magazines are putting like circles around people being like, look at that, we don't have to do it as well. Like it just all feeds into each other. We should be actively fighting against it. And I think this project has been all about personal activism on a very small and subtle level, but quite an important level, and how we can make small changes about the way that we feel about ourselves and speak about ourselves that might actually create a positive impact on the people around us.
Online and in print and stuff like that is actually, oh yeah, particularly women always have to look happy and like they're having fun and, you know, have this healthy glow about them. And if you don't look like that, the idea is that you're somehow failing. And actually I think it's more and more important that we show our true selves online and show that actually it's absolutely fine for the fact that I'm sat here looking quite grumpy today, because that's just how I'm feeling today.
We're kind of going into a generation of people now who are more open about their lives. Like you've got people who blog about their lives and do YouTube videos, and I think because of that and because of the way culture's changing and the way we're viewing things, it's more digital, it's more online. I think people are turning to things like phones more and selfies. And I mean, even people who have Instagram accounts, you can tell a story through pictures, and I think that's what the selfie culture's all about. Is it's like telling your life story through pictures, and people do put the lives out there a bit more than they used to. People used to be a bit more private, but actually now you've probably got blogs for everything. So I think it's all around how that's changed, and I think that's why selfie culture's become more popular in recent years.
I think there's good and bad to the selfie culture. Like overall, I think it's a good thing. because it's helping us to take control of who we are and, study ourselves, be proud of ourselves, and kind of stick a finger up to the beauty ideals and say, well, this is me and I'm proud of me and I want to show that off.
In the gym changing rooms, for example, I love seeing all the different women's bodies, not just because women's bodies are awesome, but because you see all kinds of things like stretch marks and scars and cellulite and things that, women's bodies have and are completely normal, but you don't see in the media.
I still feel very on the fence. I think if selfie culture could be what we've made it within this project, then it could be an amazing thing. And if society as a whole could take steps towards that, like honest selfie cultures, honest sharing, and like making some people who feel marginalized feel more visible, then that would be a really positive thing. But I think there's probably quite a long way to go before that.
I think everything has to be questioned. So I think as long as it be questioned, and you can question yourself as to why you're doing it, and also question others and think, is this real? Is this, should I be comparing myself to this person, or how am I responding to this? Then yeah, it's all good.
I think it just got people to see behind the pictures. It got people to see the real people behind them and kind of how they feel and what their struggles are and what their loves are.
I think I thought a little bit more about what I did with my selfies, because I tend to really like to edit them, and I was thinking, well, actually I don't really need to do that. Like, it's fun to do that sometimes, but maybe I don't actually have to change like the filter or something, like, because I don't look as bad as I think I do.
I think this project really made you look at yourself, and not just as an aesthetic or like physical thing, but made you look at you as a person as well, and your personality and the way you are. And I think by the end of it, I definitely felt more comfortable and confident with who I was as a person, and I've kind of accepted things about myself, and I feel better for it.
I want to have a relationship with myself. I want to kind of understand the way I look and take a bit more time to appreciate myself and feel grateful for all the things that I have, and just and just like feel more apart and in touch with myself. I think that's something that I really wanted to take away from the project.
I realised quite how far I have to go, particularly in my own neuroses, and that there's a healthy level of accepting them and just getting on with things, and then but how much am I denying them or suppressing them, and how much force will they come back with if I ignore them.
It's made me want to really show my authentic self, not just that kind of mask that we think we need to portray online, because I think that encourages other people to be like, oh, it's okay, it's not the end of the world, and that's what's going to make, a long-term difference.
Okay, maybe my hair's misbehaving a bit today, but that's just what I'm looking like, and I'm quite happy with that.
I think it's changed my view of just thinking that they're a one-dimensional thing, that they're useful just to be like, hey, this is a picture of me looking good, that they can be used to express a lot more than that and start real conversations with people.
We need role models who are prepared to put themselves out there, and so that people can see the reaction. And I think a lot of people don't do anything body positive because we're so scared of that negative judgment. But I think a project like this helped people to see that it was okay, that there were lots of us there showing ourselves in unflattering angles or body parts that we'd normally hide, and everybody was just supported and celebrated. And I think that encourages other people to think, it's not necessarily the scary thing we think it is, that you can be okay, you can show yourself in all your glory, and people are actually going to support you for doing that. So I think that's a really important, thing that it fosters, and it feels, it's a safe environment when you do it in a project like that as well. You can be a team, it's not just you striking out on your own.
It showed all the spots and places that we're tender, and that's being a good friend and a good collective, I think, is to watch out for each other's tender spots.